comes over on this new channel.
Thank you very, very, very much. Can you hear me?
STEM Academy, y'all. I ain't gonna do that much talking, I told y'all that. But we gonna walk up to A-Field. Listening to the Queen. STEM right there. Tenth and Lloyd, y'all. Hold on, y'all.
Even though it is an evil and an injustice to see hanging nooses, I'm glad that they are appearing because it is an opportunity for us to get oriented. You see, those of us who were hoping that the problem had disappeared. You see, but if a problem is not solved, it continues to resurface. You see, so we are not only seeing Jena, Louisiana, we are also seeing nooses being hung everywhere. And we are also seeing an individual who recently won the Nobel Prize, James Watson, you see, of great scientific fame, come out and openly state that black people are genetically inferior in terms of intelligence compared to white people. And I'm happy about that. You see, now when he was confronted, he said he didn't know why those words came out of his mouth. I need to invite him to my office. Because it wasn't long ago, although it's been decades ago, that I debated another Nobel Prize laureate, Dr. William Shockley, the person who won the Nobel Prize for inventing the transistor. And he was going around in the 1970s talking about black people were genetically inferior compared to white people. But I had written a paper that I presented in 1970 at the National Medical Association, because then some of my colleagues were talking about racism. And I had written a paper talking about why do people who classify themselves as white have to demean and degrade black people's genetics. And that paper was entitled The Crest Theory of Color Confrontation and Racism, White Supremacy. And in that paper, I talked about the fact that when people who classify themselves as white keep saying something is wrong with black people's genetics, see, three of their fingers are pointing back at themselves. And I didn't invent any genetics. I just simply thought about the things that I had been taught in their institutions and in medical school. That the inability to reduced skin pigmentation is defined not by Francis Wilson, but by their own scientists as a genetic recessive trait and a genetic deficiency. A genetic deficiency, and it is albinism. ALBINISM, albinism, meaning the cells in everybody's skin that are called melanocytes, that are charged with the production of melanin pigment, the black pigment. If you have a lot of melanin, you're crystal black, a little bit less, you look brown, a little bit less, you look red, a little bit less, you look yellow, and white is almost none at all. Now, they had defined albinism as a genetic deficiency state when they were talking about mice and rats and other forms of life. They never thought that some black person would come along and say, if the majority of the people on the planet have pigmented skin, then as far as human beings are concerned, white skin is albinism. Do you follow what I'm saying? See, in other words, they were busy saying something is wrong with you, when in reality there was something wrong with them. And I explained that this is the reason that they suntan. You see, trying to create color. And I'm updating it and saying now that this is the reason that so many of them are trying to cover their bodies with tattoos. See, now we need to think about that, because sometimes monkey see, monkey do. And we don't understand why.
It's the entrance here, y'all.
See, it's like if they do something, we think we have to do something. There's some black people who think that they have to get in the sun and tan too. See, but we have been blessed by the Creator with color. And indeed, and in fact, the Creator made us the chosen people, in that we are the mothers and fathers of everybody on this planet.
Facts.
You see, and as the original people, we were crystal black people. The color that we have been taught to hate under racism, white supremacy. You see, but this not only explains the suntanning and maybe now the tattooing, but I said this is the core of racism. And this is why racism contains within
See
it
that?
dynamic, the need to destroy black people in general, but black men in particular. You see, and we are seeing that with the high level of incarceration of black men, with the dropping out of school, and the high levels of unemployment. And that goes back to
Benny Jet Wright Jr.,
the
yeah.
fact that black men are
I shake
perceived
Ken.
as the person who can cause white genetic annihilation. Now, as a female, women, we have ovaries, and in our ovaries we have the genetic material.
On Lamuka,
But
y'all.
women cannot impose
Concord and Lamuka.
and
Right next to the highway.
sexual,
95 South and North.
shall I say that again? See, females, we can try to entice and influence. But if a female, if I reach
Mr. Bennett Holmes over there, y'all.
and I started to threaten a man and say, I don't care if you're white, and you want to have sex with intercourse. And I
oncoming traffic is going north. The other side is south, y'all.
See, because
95.
the erection disappears in the presence of fear. So women cannot impose sexual intercourse. It's a white collective from the time that Christopher Columbus came out of Spain in his little boats and started the white people circumnavigating the globe. They began to realize, wait a minute, all these other people on the planet are people of color.
Moulton.
And the men just like
It's Concord Avenue. Where we at?
Did you hear the term? See, black people, we don't need to say founding fathers.
It's where the A field
We need
located
to
at, y'all.
talk about the founding fathers.
Let's keep it moving. 95 over here.
George Washington and all of those slaveholders
If y'all look over there,
raping and
That's
taking
upland.
sexual advantage of black women.
that's upland back up there, y'all.
They found out that by sexually relating their white color disappeared. And they began to understand, wait a minute, they realized that they were just a tiny,
You see that back up there?
population on the planet. And see, we're still busy calling ourselves minorities. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They are the minority on the planet, but they know the value of saying repeatedly to other people that they are the minorities because it makes them feel big and it makes them feel. So we really need to start talking about the global white minority.
See Commodore Barry Bridge?
The global white minority.
Right
The
there.
global white minority. See, and the global white minority realizes that for them to genetically survive on planet Earth, they have to have control over all of the non-white people. And because black people have the greatest genetic potential to cause white genetic annihilation, the heaviest pressure has to be
Get a better shot right
us
here.
as a people, as a colored people, and as black men in particular. And so therefore, we learn, many of us learn before we learn how to read or write. If you are
Better
black,
shot for y'all. Commodore Barry Bridge.
if you are brown, stick around. If you are yellow, you're mellow, and if you're white, you're all right. They were just color coding
All right, y'all.
what they needed to do
Let's keep it
for
moving.
white genetic survival. And that is continuing on the planet today. So I maintain that we need to update our understanding and understand the news like they're trying to tell us is just a joke. And that it doesn't mean anything. I would suggest that for every person who hasn't already read the book, Without Sanctuary, it's a pictorial essay of all the lynchings and castrations of black men and burning of black men as white people stood around and cheered. And in some cases taking home body parts. We need to look at that and study that. And I say don't waste any energy hating white people. That's not taking us anywhere. It's like if we sat down at a chessboard to play chess at a tournament. You don't beat your opponent by hating your opponent. You have to take all of your energy and understand exactly the moves that the opponent is going to make and make certain that you know how to counter those moves.
Baseball field here, y'all.
Now, this is not a mystery to black people.
Right next to the football field.
Black people are expert playing basketball, playing football, playing baseball. All of these are
Baseball
citing
field
your
there.
opponent. What moves is the opponent going to make, and you make counter moves that can checkmate the opponent and move on to victory. So we need to understand and master, instead of trying to ignore racism and pretend that it doesn't exist or that it went away some time ago. No, racism is alive and well. Racism is a total global system
Facts.
that, as Neely Fuller outlined in his textbook for victims of racism, textbook for victims of white supremacy, racism operates in economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Now I'm adding to that health, because people are busy right now talking about healthcare disparities. But there are disparities in all of those areas of activity. There are disparities in economics and disparities
That's the
in
Finland
education, entertainment,
monuments
labor,
over there,
law,
y'all.
politics, religion, sex, and war, and health. And I say disparities in entertainment. Why? When only certain kinds of images can be shown of black people, where negative
Finland.
and demeaning and degrading
F-I-N,
and
land,
like
L-A-N-D.
images are portrayed of black
Finland.
people, that is
It's on
helping
Concord
to
and Pusey.
maintain the system of racism, white supremacy. Or in entertainment, when the system of racism says, I know people like Public Enemy, they started out with giving a political message.
See
But
that?
when they put that political message on a beat, the system of racism said they can revolutionize the thinking of their people.
That's the
So no,
where it's
we have to
located
pay
at.
them large sums of money
Right here, y'all.
and make some of them millionaires.
On Concord Ave and Pusey
But
Street.
the price they will have to
This way you
pay
can find this
is calling themselves
this little
dogs
monuments
and
of
calling
Finland.
themselves gangsters and thugs and calling women bitches and hoes and bow wows, because they understand if you can get a people
It's the other side of STEM Academy, y'all.
degrade themselves, then you have beaten them. You have beaten them and you have defeated them.
Facts.
So when people don't have an in-depth analysis of the problem, when they think or have been taught to think, oh, it's all about green power. It's just about money. A young woman told me she would eat feces if they paid her enough money. So it's not just about money. It's a total system.
I see the cannon.
total system is about white genetic survival by any means necessary. White genetic survival
All these
by any and
places I'm
all
doing,
means
I already did it
necessary.
before. I'm just redoing it.
And so they
'Cause they shut the channel down, so
in the area of employment,
like I was telling
in the
YouTube,
area of labor,
I like to record, so I ain't gonna
if
be
we
up here
incarcerate
taking,
large numbers of black men, we are
flags and shit so they can shut the channel
size
down,
of
so
the black population.
I'm gonna follow their guidelines, y'all.
If we incarcerate large numbers
YouTube,
of
you
black
got that
men,
one, YouTube. Y'all
we
win.
can control
I'm waving a white flag,
sexuality
YouTube.
of black women.
I'm waving the white flag. You can't win.
If we incarcerate
So I'm gonna
large
follow the
numbers
guidelines.
of
That's why I ain't
black
doing too
men,
much talking, y'all.
we can control the sexuality of black women.
It's the mass jig right
You
here.
see, and
y'all.
all we need to do
Used to be a
is put on the
firehouse
TV
back in the day.
that lesbianism is okay.
here.
Now, don't misunderstand me. to a large extent,
This used to be a firehouse back in the
people
day.
are not really
It's a mass jig
selecting
now.
which direction they go in. We are being pushed. Some of my colleagues in medicine have even been looking at why do we seem to have an epidemic in homosexuality. Now, the CIA and the military, it came out in the newspaper that they were designing chemical weapons where they could spray it on the enemy forces, and the enemy soldiers would begin to want to have sex with each other, and then they would be defeated. Now, if somebody is thinking to create such a chemical or chemicals, I say perhaps they have already deployed it.
Facts.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
If they have chemicals and plastics
It's Lincoln
that
and
they
Concord, y'all.
understand are already affecting the sexuality of fish and frogs and causing fish and frogs to become castrated and the males to become effeminized, why wouldn't they deploy it? It's just like I'm saying anybody who thinks HIV/AIDS is some accident that fell out of the sky, I say wake up. See, wake up. My position is that it's biological warfare until proven otherwise. Until proven otherwise. And if we understand what the dilemma of the white minority population on planet Earth is, and their key survival dilemma is that they are overwhelmingly outnumbered by people of color. And because of their genetic recessive state, they can be genetically annihilated. So it makes sense to them. It makes sense to them to do whatever damage or harm to the black population because we are the population that is most feared. There's a book that is called Breaking Rank. And again, I suggest everybody get that book. First, repeat after me. Reading is more important than watching TV. Say it again. Reading is more important than watching TV. You see, because if you know how to read, there's all kinds of material in books and in newspapers. Like people used to say, if they don't want black people to see it, put it in a book. See, and all we have to do is go back into our history when we were under formal enslavement, where if you were caught trying to read, they would beat you, if not kill you. Because with reading, you can get information.
Facts.
You can go in a bookstore. You can go in a library. You can go to a newsstand. See, I encourage buy 3 or 4 newspapers every day and see what the newspapers are communicating to the people that are considered to be the important people. And it is not us. You see, no, train them and train their children to say if you are reading and studying, you're trying to act white. Do you all understand? Now this is genocide. See, people who are are fearful of their genetic annihilation will design genocide of the populations that they have fear of. So the book I was talking about,
Mount Irving Funeral Home, y'all.
Breaking Rank, it's a book that was written by a white retired police officer from California. And right in his book, he talks about how the white police officers would attack the men that they considered to be the darkest and the men that were the largest. They would just go after them. And I guess everybody else in the middle, but he lays it out that this is what they were doing. So we need to read that. And that whole discussion about whether he's 14 or 40, I thought he had a weapon. Well, he does have a weapon. You see, but the weapon is his genitals, and his weapon is the powerful genetic material in his testicles.
All right, y'all. I'm going to cut it short here.